This video was compiled using information which was made public via news or government agencies and is intended to honor the lives of those who met an unimaginable fate and also bring awareness to the unjust behaviors in our communities. On March 23, 2017, around 5:20 p.m., Decatur Fire Department EMTs requested police assistance after responding to a call from the 1100 block of East Division Street. There, they had found an unresponsive baby. Physicians who initially treated the baby at Decatur Memorial Hospital told police that the results of a CAT scan showed she possibly suffered head trauma. Heartbreakingly, 5-month-old Daniya Lewis never regained consciousness and was pronounced dead on March 28 at HS St. John's Hospital, where she had been earlier lifted for specialized emergency treatment. She passed away just one day before turning 6 months old. The medical examiner ruled Daniya's cause of death as consistent with shaken baby syndrome, with injuries including bleeding of the retinas of her eyes, bleeding of the brain, and a lack of oxygen to the brain. In a police interview, Daniya Lewis, the child's father, admitted that he became angry and forcefully threw the baby onto her bed, which caused her to bounce up multiple times because he had thrown her so hard. The affidavit further stated that when Daniya threw Daniya, he thought that he may have broken her neck. Demonstrations from the man showed Daniya's eyes rolled back in her head and her body became lifeless at that moment. Following an initial investigation, Daniya, a parolee at the time, was arrested on March 29, 2017 and held in jail. At his initial bond hearing, Assistant Macon County State's Attorney Reagan recommended that the man's bond be set at $2 million. When Associate Judge Phoebe Bowers asked the accused man if he had anything to say about the amount of his bond, he responded that he would never be able to pay that amount. Bowers then set his bond at $2 million. The discussion of the amount was unnecessary, as due to the fact that Lewis was on parole at the time, any amount the judge said would have been overruled and he would have been held without bond regardless. According to an affidavit, when Daniya's mother, Ashley Young, returned home with another adult relative just a few minutes after, Lewis and Young decided to falsify a story to police about other adults, including Young, being present at the time the baby was injured. Young's relative later told police that when she arrived at the house, Daniya was blue and lifeless. The unidentified woman also told police that Young called 911 with Lewis's phone, then the man asked Young to return his phone because he wanted to leave. A review of Daniya Lewis's criminal record showed an extensive criminal history, as he had served 3 terms in the Illinois Department of Corrections since 2011. Prior to Daniya's passing, he was released from prison on parole on August 19th after serving a 6-month stint of a 1-year sentence for unlawful use of a weapon. At a later court hearing over the objections of defense counsel Karen Root, Judge Thomas E. Griffith delayed Lewis's trial date at the request of Assistant State's Attorney Lindsay Shelton. He stated that there had been a conference in his chambers for the purpose of analyzing where the prosecution was in the process of collecting evidence and reports. The judge said he was granting the trial delay because the prosecution still had not received all the expert reports it needed to go ahead. Root did not say what the nature of her objections were. Jail staff also reported that Lewis was attacked and beaten on September 19th by a cellmate who had repeatedly yelled "baby killer" at him. The judge set December 4th as the earliest available alternative date and also ordered a final pretrial hearing for November 27th. Lewis reached a plea deal with the prosecution and pleaded guilty to involuntary manslaughter and aggravated battery to a child in the 2017 death of Daniya Lewis. Court records also showed that as a result of pleading guilty to the additional counts, the charges of murder with intent to kill or injure and 2 counts of murder with strong probability to kill or injure were dismissed. In November 2018, Lewis was sentenced to 10 years in the Illinois Department of Corrections for the involuntary manslaughter charge, to be followed by a 2-year period of mandatory supervised release. He was also sentenced to 10 years for the aggravated battery charge, with a 3-year period of mandatory supervised release to follow. He received credit for time served. Due to the nature of the incident and his criminal record, Lewis, who was a parolee at the time of the incident, will have his sentences run consecutively. He must also register under the Violent Offenders Against Youth Act for 10 years due to his guilty plea for the aggravated battery to a child charge. May the family and friends of Daniya Lewis find solace in the happy memories, and may her soul rest in perpetual peace. Thank you.